This past week, I picked up a JBJ 28 Nano Cube off of Facebook Marketplace. I paid roughly $50 for it, which I thought was a really good deal because I also got the upgraded stand with it. When I picked it up, obviously I wanted it, but it had a few little quirky things to it, so I thought about modifying it a little bit, and I hadn't seen a video on how to do it, so I thought that I would just share it with everybody and see if it would help other people. But when I started looking at the actual Nano Cube and I pulled it up, I realized that it was cracked up here. So obviously I didn't really want all that condensation getting up there anyways. 3 out of the 4 LED lights were working, but there was one that obviously wasn't working. When you turned it on, it did work and the light did light up, but you would hear this humming sound obviously, which is more than likely the fan. So I didn't really want to mess with it and open it up and really do a lot of just work to it. So I thought, you know, what would be the best thing to do? So I started researching online and I saw other reefers that had done this before, but they took off the actual trim and made it a rimless. I thought, man, that looked really cool. And then if I put my Kessel A80 on it, I thought, you know, that might be okay. I'm not looking at doing really expensive corals in this tank. I want to keep those in my 125 in my bigger system. So I thought this could be a fun tank. And so that's really what I'm going to do with it. You know, the first thing that you've got to do with this is basically unhook it. And there's hinges right here, and it actually will just pop out really easily. And then you can put it over the side, obviously unplug it and so forth. The next part after you get that hood off is you're going to need some tools to do this next part to make this rimless. One, we have a heat gun. So I picked this up off of Amazon for about $10. I use it for a lot of other projects with epoxy. This right here is just basically a grinder. It's a cutoff grinder that I end up getting at our local Harbor Freight shop. I think it was $19.99. I did the 20% off coupon, so I got it for about $16. And then I got some wheels with it, which were just a couple bucks. I think they were $2.50 for a pack of 5 or so forth. Obviously a razor blade, and then a scraper. So we're going to utilize these tools right here to start to get this rim off. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's not the easiest process in the world. It's gonna take some time, it's gonna take some energy, and there's a lot of silicone that is obviously stuck to it. So I took my razor blade and I just very cautiously started in the front, pushed it up, and just started going around all the way around, trying to loosen up some of that silicone that was in there. I went all the way around to the sides. Some places you'll find where the silicone is really thick. Other places you'll find that there's not as much silicone there. So you just have to kind of work around it, coming through. Now, I will say when you're doing this, you want to be very careful, especially if you're using something metal, to not get a hold of the glass. If you rub it against the glass, you're more than likely going to scratch it. If you end up getting your razor blade up there and you're hitting the glass, you're going to obviously damage your glass that way. So you're going to do this all the way around. You're going to do it in the inside all the way around. And for demonstration purposes, I've already done a lot of this work freehand before I started the video. I'm just kind of going back just to share with you what that looks like. Again, it gets rough in different places. A lot of silicone that's in there. To the back. Now there's a couple different modifications that I've seen. I haven't seen anybody really do any videos on it. But one of those is taking this whole rim piece off, and you'll even take the back off and the front right here, that brace that kind of goes over. I don't think the brace really is going to do anything when it comes to the stability of this. I think it's going to be strong. I've seen people do this several different times and they've not had problems, and they've done it and had it going for about 4 years. If you actually look at the glass, and we'll look at that after we get the whole lid off, you'll notice that it's pretty thick glass, that it would take a lot, especially in a little tank, to actually bust that or pop any seals that might be. So the next thing that we're going to do is, after we get all that around, I'm just going around and just kind of pulling at it a little bit, just pulling it out. I noticed that over here it seems to be a little bit tighter. So I'm just going to, again, pull and take my nifty knife and go up in there just to see, and I could tell. Now this is the grinding part that just people don't enjoy doing. We're going all the way around and getting it as loose as possible, on the inside and the outside. We're gonna take this cutoff tool that we got from Harbor Freight, and we're actually just gonna go to parts of the frame and cut. We wanna make sure that we don't hit the glass. We wanna be really, really cautious in doing that, and just kind of take our time as we go all the way through. It cuts through really easily, so just take your time in that whole process. I'm going through, you probably should wear safety goggles, but it doesn't really matter to me. Oh my goodness, all the silicone still on it. So we'll just go back out later and work on that, but so far so good. I don't see any nicks in the glass or anything like that, so we'll keep going around and check back with you. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take my heat gun. What I've noticed is as I've been trying to get all this stuff off when I've applied heat, it seems to have helped significantly. So I'm gonna actually put some heat underneath here, okay? And all that's doing is making that silicone a little loose. And this could be your lifesaver. It really could. It's kind of hard to get going, but obviously plastic and heat. Okay, do some more heat. Actually, it's coming right off. So now we're gonna really need to come back through and get all this silicone off because there's a ton of it. But we did an awesome job. We didn't chip anywhere. Didn't chip the glass, which I was concerned of using that cutoff tool that we would actually cut in there. We still have to do one more part, which is this back part. We're gonna take this off too. We took this off and I think it would look better if we took this off. And then what this might do too is just give us maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch, not much more than that, extra room if we want to put it back on skimmer or something like that and make it rimless all the way around. So we're going to try to get this stuff off right here. And so hopefully we can just keep stabbing at it and see what happens. But this came off really, really nice. And so I heard this was the worst part of it. It's just getting the silicone part off. So maybe if you have a child or somebody that loves to pick at stuff, here's their job. Now that we have our rim off to our Nanocube, we're gonna really start to work at this silicone that is just really stubborn at trying to get off. We've gotten most of it off. I'd probably say about 90% of it, but it's that other 10% that is just really, really difficult to get off. So I got a couple products to use. Acetone is one of them. Rubbing alcohol is another one. A lot of people will use vinegar, which I honestly like vinegar and probably suggest that the most just because it is biodegradable and more natural. But since I'm kind of just really going at this and I want to get it done, I'm going to use the acetone. I'm just going to really have to make sure that I've washed the inside of this and really just scrubbed it. I'm going to give it a bath in vinegar, let it sit for a few days, kind of see how it turns out. So right now what I'm going to do is just take the acetone and just really go around the rim of it and it eats a little bit at the silicone that's left. Then I'm gonna take my razor blade. Try not to skimp with razor blades. I know they're cheap, but go somewhere, don't get the really cheap Dollar Tree ones or anything like that. You won't be successful. And just really, really working on taking big, long strokes all the way through. And it seems like it is helping. Big chunk that just came off. The difficult part about this is you have silicone on the inside and outside, so you really gotta sometimes look at it because you don't know if it's on the inside and the outside. You're rubbing on the outside, then you're rubbing on the inside. You still can't feel anything, but it's there. So just trying to figure out where it is. It's fairly thick glass. We talked about that we were gonna show that glass to you. That's pretty thick glass, especially for a really small cube. We're really getting it. You can still see some of the silicone that's around. Those are just areas that we're working on. And so we'll kind of update you in a few minutes on where we're on. So I'm updating after a couple of days. I took this out and I gave it a good soaking in a vinegar bath. And so I let it sit in there, ran the pumps and everything else like that. And so cleaned it all the way up, cleaned it on the sides, cleaned the rim out. And this is how it turned out. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. So I just wanted to share the finished product of what it looks like. So here you go. Pretty neat setup. Anxious to get it cycled and get some fish in there and some coral.